Jordan and Gretzky, Serena and Ruth. Remembering great ones is easy to do.
But what about the no-names who spent their whole lives long snapping footballs and catching sack flies? They're guys, remember that guy. Remember that guy, remember that guy, remember that guy, remember that
guy. They're just gonna remember some guys now.
Here you go. Call the rest of the last 2 minutes. It's all you, boy. Give him a headset. Well, the wheels are off. 48-14. 2 minutes to remember that guy. The show where we mine our memories for nugs of nostalgia about peripheral players, past and present. Hey there, folks. It is me, one of your hosts, James, and I'm here with a true road dog of mine.
I'm a road dog. I am married to an age-appropriate woman, which we cannot say about Bill Belichick. But it is Diaz, back with you once again. We have a very special guest. He is also in an age-appropriate relationship. Please introduce yourself.
That's true. My wife and I are the exact same age, which is great. But I'll take that. I mean, God, I love the way that announcers and play-by-play color figure out stupid shit to do when there's nothing interesting left to say in a game that's a blowout. But bringing your dog on it has got to be the top, especially when it's a nationally televised event that people had been waiting months to see, and there's a Hulu documentary series that will be on about it. I hope the dog gets in the Hulu documentary.
Oh, but when Marge Schott brings her St. Bernards to the stadium and they're shitting everywhere, all of a sudden it's a problem. This is just another example of misogyny in the workplace.
Hey, if that's the only thing Marge Schott did, then maybe we'd be cool with it.
Did you see during the college game day kick, I guess when they were in break, the dog had taken a big old doink in the kicking area.
Good boy.
Not where the kid kicked it from. He did make it, but then the celebration carried them into the poop pile.
Hey, that's a $250,000 dog turd. That's fine.
It's a good trade.
I'll take it any day. You know what I will trade for right now? And maybe you guys will just freely give it to me. Any memories that are being made for it right now?
I have to go first because I did start off this morning by seeing the news that Pablo Torre had dropped a new episode of Pablo Torre Finds Out, and then watching that entire thing this morning. Maybe one of the best podcasts I've ever seen. I have listened to a lot of podcasts. I also recorded over 200 podcasts at this point, so I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of whether a podcast is good or not. This is incredible. For those who haven't seen it, Pablo Torre, fantastic journalist, has spent the past 7+ months investigating a company named Aspirant that did bullshit carbon offset credits for rich people to make them feel good about doing something for the environment without actually ever doing anything. And carbon offsets are already a scam. They didn't even do that much. They started off with we're going to plant trees, then went to carbon offsets, and then went to we're a bank for carbon offsets where we broker other companies selling carbon offsets they've purchased to other companies, which is literally selling nothing to someone for money. But that's not the nothing that is important about this story. The nothing that's important is that one Kawhi Leonard was the highest paid spokesman for this company Aspiration. And when I say highest paid, this is a company that had Robert Downey Jr. do an ad for them on national television and had endorsements from Leonardo DiCaprio and many other very famous celebrities who did actual things for them. The money they paid to Kawhi Leonard was more than what they paid to everyone else combined. It was $28 million over 4 years, and Kawhi Leonard never once did anything for this company. And Pablo Torre had the contract that said Kawhi Leonard does not have to do anything if he doesn't want to do it, and also that he will be paid as long as he is a member of the Los Angeles Clippers. The second he is not a member of the Los Angeles Clippers, he is not paid anymore. And then we get into a little more intriguing things about how Steve Ballmer, the richest sports owner in the world and the owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, partnered with this company to be their green investment company. And also, he did send $50 million to this company right before they gave Kawhi Leonard $28 million. And right around the same time, Kawhi Leonard was signing for an extension that was less years than he could have. That saved the Clippers money on the luxury tax. Again, these are all allegations. The Clippers have denied this. But the implication is that to get around salary cap rules, the Clippers paid a company that then later turned out to be fraudulent, and their founder is arrested and had to pay hundreds of millions of dollars in fines. The Clippers paid this company to pay Kawhi Leonard to do nothing, solely as long as he is a member of the Clippers, to pay him extra to keep him happy, to keep him signing there. You may think there's some logical leaps there, missing some big links. The issue is, this is not the first time this has been an issue with Kawhi Leonard. Like Kawhi Leonard's Uncle Dennis. There was pretty open reporting that back in 2019, he was saying that Kawhi would only sign for teams if they provided a private plane for Kawhi and his family, housing for his family, all of these impermissible benefits that you cannot provide. The NBA investigated at that point. They were unable to find anything. But they have now announced that they are investigating based on what Pablo Torre revealed this morning. And if this were to be proven that the Clippers were circumventing salary cap rules to pay Kawhi extra under the table to keep him happy, I mean, first of all, there are some possible legal issues. I'm not super familiar with, wire fraud rules in California. There's a chance that there could be issues with that, especially because this is, again, a company that has now gone under for defrauding investors. And Pablo Torre's source, which he had on fully digitized voice to protect their identity, said pretty openly that no matter what, even when the money was running out, their number one priority was, we have to pay Kawhi. So there could be issues there. But the bigger issue is that the NBA treats the salary cap circumvention as a massive, massive crime. So Adam Silver has said before that this is, any attempt to get the salary cap is a cardinal sin for him. The CBA allows for penalties of voiding contracts, stripping draft picks, massive fines, etc. And this has happened before. So for those who don't know, those who are young, in 2000, the Timberwolves were stripped 5 draft picks, later reduced to 3, and Joe Smith had his contract voided after he made a deal with then-owner Glenn Taylor to sign 3 straight 1-year, well below market value contracts in order to get bird rights and then a massive extension later on. You cannot promise to pay someone more later on. This is not even nearly as bad as secretly paying someone $28 million under the table through a fraudulent business deal. So if that were to be proven, it could be worse than that. The Clippers also don't have many first-round picks left available, so they might have to get creative with the punishments, which could be, cutting the salary cap for them. What if they had to operate for 5 years with half salary? That would destroy the team. But it might be something that billionaires don't like to be cheated by other billionaires. So they're not going to be happy if it turns out that, hey, we all wanted to sign Kawhi. You cheated to sign Kawhi because you're the richest among us. Well, here at the NBA Board of Governors, a 2/3 vote of us is all it needs to fuck you over. And if we make you sell your team, just like we did with Donald Sterling, and ban you from ever getting back in, that's something that your money can't buy. You can't get back into our NBA club. So it's going to be super interesting to see what happens with this investigation. Again, it is going to be difficult because Steve Ballmer is the richest owner in the NBA and has a lot of power in the league. But if they uncover that he fraudulently did this, then there's going to be big, big penalties for him, Kawhi, and the Clippers that could be like SMU death penalty level.
I mean, they don't have any draft picks right now.
You have one of them. That 29 first is looking amazing right now.
They take it from the Sixers. They're like, no one gets to enjoy these.
No, I mean, like, the voiding the contracts is probably the likeliest thing. My only take is it was stupid and probably criminal for Kawhi to sign this agreement, but I am going to stand by him and say, look, man, if some incredibly rich dude is throwing money at you and you want to take it, I'm not going to begrudge you if you still went out and did the thing you were supposed to, or just play ball very well.
The fact that the only piece of media that Kawhi ever ostensibly did for this company was that the Clippers tweeted to wish him happy birthday and tagged the company's now defunct Twitter handle in it, and said, "What one tree for every retweet?" Is that what it was?
Something like that. And it's very funny because the Athletic article, the original Athletic article, because again, this was done on Pablo Torre's podcast. And Pablo Torre, had made a big show of the fact that Kawhi Leonard did not do anything for that. There was not even a like on a social media post.
They got Kawhi Leonard, famously the most quiet player in like basketball history, to be a spokesperson. Yeah, red flag.
And so in this original piece, the Athletic it kind of seemed like they were throwing shade a little bit. It said, additionally, the Torre podcast said there's no evidence of social media posts, photographs, or appearances by Leonard promoting Aspiration as stipulated in the contract. However, the Athletic found at least one social media post from the Clippers tagging Aspiration and referencing Leonard. And then after people were like, that's nothing, they then added in a editor's note, which they did not note as an editor's note, but is just as in parentheses, the team did the same for several other players without known ties to Aspiration, and Leonard did not retweet the post. So yes, the one piece of content ever done was one they did for all of their players on their birthday, and he didn't even like that one. It would have taken him half a second. He didn't even need to do it. He could have someone else just like the fucking post that the Clippers did.
If the Clippers really get forced to be sold a second time, it would be a little funny.
What happens to the Intuit Dome? Because I think Ballmer built that with his own money.
I'm almost certain he owns it, and he owns all the many toilets in it. All those toilets that he can now use to flush evidence down. Yeah, I mean, that's the most shocking thing to have happened today. Diaz, do you have anything else that has happened in recent memory that is maybe as shocking as that?
Not quite shocking, but more just stating how nice it is because, as I've sung the praises of the Annapolis Blues on and on, a key detail about them is that they are comprised of local college players for the most part. And it is that time of the year again. College football, also college football is back and been doing a lot of Georgetown soccer. It's just been nice. The men's team has, I believe, 3 former Blues. So there's Max Vieira, there's Matty Helfrich, and there's one that I'm forgetting. But they're in the non-conference part of their schedule, which largely comprises of playing other local DMV schools. So we've also got to see some local flavor from Maryland. And on the women's side as well, there's been some former Blues to come on. And it's just really nice. I did a lot of college soccer broadcasts at Penn, and they were good, and the teams were fun, and I had a good time. But with Georgetown, we're talking about a program that's been to the College Cup multiple times. They're national champion as recently as 2019. The women's team also pretty consistently ranked. And it's really exciting to see the next levels of U.S. soccer develop. There's a former Hoya whose name I am forgetting right now, but he graduated 2 years ago and he just got named to the U.S. men's national team for the upcoming friendlies against Korea and Japan. So I love soccer. I love football. I love the Blues. I love seeing the Blues do their thing in college. It's been really high-level games, too. We got to do Georgetown, Vermont. Vermont, of course, the defending national champions. Saving their unbeaten streak, basically at the death with just a crazy goal by the same kid, Maxi Kessel, who scored the winner in the national championship against Maryland. The Vermont USL2 team, which is the same league as the Annapolis Blues, they won the national championship this year on a stoppage time goal from Maxi Kessel. So he is German, but I don't know if we can figure out another dual national thing. I have to assume we could at this point. But would love to see Maxi Kessel up top, banning him home for the U.S. men's national team. and just enjoying seeing some really good college soccer.
John Zawadsky is who you're thinking of.
Yes, Zawadsky with the ZKI, not an SKI, because we thought that about 20 seconds before we put the graphic up. But yeah, no, it's awesome. And dude, like Georgetown, like I've been doing Georgetown football for a few years, American football. They get better crowds for the soccer teams, both of them. Like it's a 2,000 seat stadium, it's packed for every game. Football is a 10,000 seat stadium, it's at about 20% capacity at best. So it's fun to see an exciting atmosphere on campus too.
Well, speaking of fan atmospheres, I got two things. One related to that. La Vuelta is going on right now. This is the third of the Grand Tours. It's the kind of hipster one. It's both like a futures game and a third place championship for everyone. But going on this year, there's a number of teams that are like related to or sponsored by countries. I've mentioned Tadej Pogacar. He's on UAE, United Arab Emirates. There's Bahrain Victorious. There's Team Sky for many years. There's a team called Israel Premier Tech. It is not officially funded by the Israeli government. It is very much built around promoting Israeli cycling. And that has caused some disturbance, or response to it has caused some disturbance in La Vuelta. There have been a lot of crowds of pro-Palestinian supporters, protesters, however you wish to refer to them, large crowds of people blocking the road during the Vuelta. This kind of started with the team time trials. They had one of those in the Vuelta this year. It is a relatively like infrequent kind of stage, but it was really convenient because it meant at one point they could all go out and specifically block this team. That's a very rare opportunity. So as this is continued, particularly in the Basque country, which has a much stronger pro-Palestinian support base, they just got to go out on the full course as everyone's going now, which is what they've continued to do. Today, they even had to cut a stage short by about 2 or 3 kilometers, basically at the point that it became the neutral finish. And I want to make clear, like, this is good. This is a cause that I personally support. I'm not speaking for anyone else here on the podcast, but I certainly do. And protests are meant to disrupt things. This is good. And it is, like, gotten to the point where people are talking about, hey, maybe you guys drop out and save all the rest of us from this shit, which is appropriate. Like, a full mix of reactions. I want to make it clear, a full spectrum. But there have been like meetings at the race courses by all of the current cyclists. There have been some people talking up, like Derek G, who used to race for the team and quit recently, opted out of his contract because of it should be clear, ongoing genocide that Israel is committing. This is not a comment on like the nation of Israel or its people inherently. This is not like an immutable fact about them, but the current authoritarian government is embarking in an undertaking of ethnic cleansing. And it is good that people are getting ostracized by this. It's unfortunate for people caught up in it, but it is good that this is causing ostracization because people that support authoritarian governments and their crackdowns using their armed forces should be like excluded from polite society and ostracized and excommunicated and all of those things, be they getting this response from fans or peers or friends and family. That's just my 2 cents. That's all a bummer and about things other than just cycling. So to finish with a sport that's kind of fun, let's go to Korea. Earlier this year, when I talked about some Korean baseball players in the KBO beating the all-time records for home runs and strikeouts, it turns out that there are single-season records all of a sudden falling for strikeouts as well. Cody Ponce last night broke the record that was initially set. Choi Dong-won, in the third season of the KBO, 1984, sets the record for most strikeouts in a season, 223. The A.G. Sawamura of NPB, or the Cy Young of MLB, like one of the greatest of all-time pitchers early on, who now has an award named after him. That record stands for almost 40 years. In 2021, Ariel Miranda, who is a former Orioles farmhand, among other things, but he was the Choi Dong-won winner of this particular year, in which he had 225 strikeouts, and then it only took 4 years for that to fall again. This year, Cody Ponce, of formerly Cal Pomona, the Broncos, of the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Nippon Ham Fighters, the Rakuten Golden Eagles. He is now with the Hanwen Eagles. Go Birds. He has, as of about a week ago when you're hearing this, he became the all-time single-season strikeout leader in the KBO with a couple games still to go. He already has the record. The guy behind him is probably going to pass that. There's 2 other guys within 180 who, with like 2 to 3 starts to go, feasibly could reach 200 strikeouts. If all 4 were to, that would double the number of pitchers that have ever had a single season strikeout total of 200 or more, going back to 2014, which is the furthest back I could find stats at a cursory level. I'm trying to take you on this journey because I found this out. I got fascinated. I started trying to find all the trends and explaining, why are these strikeout totals jumping up so much all of a sudden? Is there a full-on 3 true outcomes rise, but home walks staying relatively simple? Keep going through all of this. I keep trying to find an explanation. Just made the strike zone bigger.
That does speak to a part of, like, and I'm full ABS. I'm like, ABS, please. Yes, 100%. But the one point that the human element people do have is that I do appreciate the skill of framing. And that obviously goes completely out of the way with ABS. Maybe it doesn't matter because, as you mentioned, it's a larger zone. But it is the one point that I'm willing to acknowledge as valid.
So I have one thing that I think they should add to ABS if they implement in the majors. That's essentially like an exemption. If the catcher doesn't catch the pitch, it's a ball. If the pitcher and the catcher are so on the wrong page that they just mess up and the catcher just doesn't catch it, it's a ball. Because I saw this yesterday in the Yankees-Astros game where the home plate umpire called a bunch of low and outside strikes were very clearly balls. I'm like, damn, ABS would get those. But there were also many times where the pitcher was so wild, the catcher was setting up in and high, and the ball was ending up low and away, and it was technically a strike, but the catcher had to go like this to try to catch it, and was essentially trapping the ball against the ground. And they're getting called balls, even though they're in the strike zone, but because the pitcher missed his spot so badly, the catcher was struggling to catch it. There was also one that the pitcher, Framber Valdez, had to apologize for because people thought that he did it intentionally. After he gave up a grand slam yesterday, the catcher called for a changeup, and he threw a sinker that drilled the catcher right in the chest. It was right down the plate. The catcher was not ready for it, and it drilled him right in the chest. I think the ump did call that one a strike, but the catcher had to stop and go out to the mound to talk to him after that. I'm like, if you're beating your own catcher, that should be a ball. I don't care where in the zone it is.
That is an interesting take, Xavier. I don't agree with it at all. But, as we go toward these robo-umps, I'm glad that we are still looking for the corners where we make those things special. Speaking of special, we've got a special surprise for you guys. Not a surprise. You should have known this was coming. It's season 14. We're here. We've made it. And thanks to you all, we have a category to go through. It is not 69 or 420, 69 or 420 career games as submitted by Xavier. It is not guys that are actually places, talking about tracks, fields, cities, etc., submitted by me. Submitted by Diaz was the category Cameo Guys, with the definition of that being individuals who had, the idea, I believe, and feel free to correct me on this, Diaz, is that we're looking for like a sustained career. Not like long necessarily, but we're not looking for someone who only has a one season appearance because they only have a couple seasons. We're looking for people who have a nice full career with one particular season in a city, the sole season that they appear with this team, that is etched into the hearts of that team. Someone who is a hero in somewhere where their impact came quickly, it burned bright, it did not burn for long. I believe that kind of sums up what we're looking for.
Yeah, I think, the only thing that I would add to what you said is it's not required, but in the vein of you don't remember this player as being on this team. He had more seasons with other teams.
Sure.
But you go to that city where he had that one season. You're like, oh yeah, so-and-so that year, that was a fun year. That was a special year.
Yeah. It is. This is ones I'm thinking about as like highly personal because this is one that you would have to like kind of be in the city to know. You would have to have that idea about the impact. And I will also be leading off this time. I'm not leading off with that one, but I am leading off with one that I'm really excited to talk about. It's going to involve, I mentioned this to Diaz earlier, a lot of top 10 lists that I'm kind of surprised I get to bring up. There's a lot of top 10 lists that I didn't think would necessarily be a part of this. And the one I want to start with, I want to see how much we can fill this out today. Since the 2010-2011 season, it's the first LeBron Miami season, I want to know how many players in the top 10 of playoff games like just playoff game appearances, how many do you guys think we can get since LeBron first took his talents to South Beach?
Okay, so LeBron's in there.
LeBron is number one. I will tell you that. And this
Right.
11 players, 10 is a tie. So 11 players are in the top 10.
LeBron's in there. Steph's in there. Draymond's in there.
Yep.
Clay's in there.
Yep. There's another one you're missing from that core.
KD.
Oh, well, KD also is in there, but there was another one I was thinking of who's a little more integral to the core of three that Diaz had said.
Iggy.
Iggy. Yep. There we go. Right now, you are looking for someone who's made it for Houston, Brooklyn, I believe also Philadelphia.
Sure, Harden.
James Harden. Yep. You are looking for someone who's made it most notably with Boston. Think of longevity in Boston.
Not Tatum.
It's not Paul Pierce.
Not Tatum yet.
JB.
No, we are looking for Al Horford. Al Horford is the Celtic.
Fuck Al Horford.
Because he's also got the Hawks years. He's got some Philly years. But I thought
if that's not that Al Horford would not be a good example for
no
guy. I know he's not your guy, but he had the one season. We fucking hate him for it. DeMarco Murray also an analog in Philadelphia, but please.
Yeah. So that's 8 of them that we've got: LeBron, Al Horford, Draymond Green, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Andre Iguodala, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry. The last 3 are all very integral to one run that we'll talk about, and that's the Raptors run. We've got Kawhi Leonard and Serge Ibaka. Those are the 2 tied at 10 and 11. But all the way back at 3 is none other than my guy today, Danny Green.
Good old DG.
So this is the first, I think kind of shocking top 10 lists to see Danny Green on. And it's not the last one that we'll have. Danny Green, born Daniel Richard Green Jr., North Babylon, New York, June 22nd, 1987. That is not a huge sports hotbed. The only other person I can find from that area that's relatively recent is New York Liberty legend Bria Hart, who, did get to play for a local team that way. But Danny Green is enough of a star for the North Babylon Bulldogs on both the gridiron and hardwood. He plays quarterback also, but mostly it's basketball that gets him noticed by a nearby prestigious prep school called St. Mary's. And his star shines very bright with the Gales. He becomes a 4-star, number 31 overall in his class. And so what a coup for the Tar Heel Nation when he commits to UNC. When Danny Green gets to UNC, it is still early in the Roy Williams era, but they are coming off their first title under him his freshman year. So they're defending champs as he plays the 6-man role. They lose in the round of 32, and he's a little dissatisfied with his role. Thinks about transferring, decides to come back, and starts to form a pretty nice core. There was a similar freshman with him that first year, Tyler Hansbrough, who's already starting to take off as a core piece of this. And then 2 more guys come the next year, Ty Lawson and Wayne Ellington. These 4 just really start to improve year over year. The next year they get up to the Elite 8. They lose then in the Final 4, Danny Green's junior year. There's consideration about declaring for the draft. He does technically declare, doesn't sign an agent. The whole squad decides to get back together for one more run. None of them declare for the draft. It pays off. They beat Michigan State University in the final 89-72. Blow the fucking doors off of them. And this makes them champions. Danny Green's got some hardware already now. He is seen as already an important role player on this team, absolutely. But he kind of takes a backseat to the other 3 in the overall esteem of the team. And that's kind of reflected by the draft stock, because all are then selected in the following year's draft, the 2009 NBA draft. Hansbrough goes first, 13th overall. He's going to play altogether 428 games. He'll start 50. He'll end up with about 20.2 win shares. Ty Lawson goes 18th, 551 games, 344 of them starts, 42.1 win shares. Wayne Ellington, 28th overall, 770 games, 206 starts, 21.1 win shares. And then 18 picks later, all the way in the middle of the second round, 46th overall, eventually the Cleveland Cavaliers finally select Danny Green. So Danny Green is a pro with the Cavs for the final LeBron season. That's the first one that he starts, which also makes him teammates for what it's worth with Shaq and Hall of Guy inductee Anderson Varejao. This is all excellent, but he's basically glued to the bench whenever he's in the NBA. Largely, he is spending time in the G League with the Erie Bayhawks. Only appears in 20 games for a total of 115 minutes, not even 2 full hours. And as we all know, following this season, LeBron takes his talents to South Beach. Maybe this is going to be some increased opportunity for Danny Green. No, he is instead waived by Cleveland 7 days before the 2010-2011 season starts. About a month after being waived, he signs with the Spurs, and then he is cut about a week later after a very brief cameo with them. He joins the Reno Bighorns in the G League for a stint, and then switches to the Austin Toros when he gets re-signed by San Antonio for the rest of the season, including a very brief playoff appearance, 4 games, doesn't do anything in them, but 4 games. And then with the looming lockout, he signs an insurance contract with Olimpia, which is a Slovenian team in Ljubljana, his 5th team now in the past calendar year. And in his brief cameo there, he is not there long enough to win like the full title, but he does win a Slovenian Cup before the season resumes, and he rejoins the Spurs. So this is now officially his 3rd stint with the Spurs, and he makes it count. Appears in all 66 games of the lockout-shortened season, 38 starts, once they kind of figure out the rotation with him and Manu, who's back to the 6th-man role. Eventually, he just becomes like an absolute franchise mainstay here for the next 8 years. And I'm going to kind of fast forward because that's not what this category is about. This is about cameos. But I do want to highlight some things from his long tenure with the Spurs, which did make him a player that I loved. I'll acknowledge that. There's some bias here. He makes the playoffs all 8 years in San Antonio, including that first one. His first big moment comes in the 2013 finals, during which he sets the record for the most 3-pointers made in a finals series. He gets 29. He breaks the record in Game 5. It had been 22, set back in 2008 by Ray Allen. And then Ray Allen does get some 3-point related vengeance in the next game. Spurs lose those finals. But the next year, this has been like a building narrative of Spurs playoff obstacles over these couple of years, and it all leads up in Danny Green and Kawhi Leonard's young careers. Here they are in the 2014 finals, kind of taking the torch from the Big Three in their 1 win over the Heat, where they absolutely dismantled them. And this is, of course, Green's old teammate, LeBron, that he beats in there. This makes him the 3rd UNC alum to have both an NBA and NCAA title. Can you name the other 2?
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
James Worthy.
Yep, there we go. Those 2, Danny Green. At some point, I couldn't find the Facebook post that has this by the eye doctor who did it. He gets LASIK in an offseason. I don't have anything more to say about this, but I remember it being a really big point on Spurs Twitter that offseason. Like, oh shit, y'all, Danny Green got LASIK. It's over for the league.
I think it worked. It worked for him. And I remember there was also a big offseason where it was, Jameis Winston got LASIK surgery. Now
Yes!
he's able to see who is the defender and who is the receiver.
I believe that was before 30 season also.
I think it was leading into the 30-30 season, which like almost makes it even better.
In 2015, the year after those finals, Danny Green does into 2nd all-time 3 points made in San Antonio. And then he, towards the very end, he's like an underrated defender. He had been a 2009 All-ACC defensive selection his senior year. He only ever gets the 1 All-Defense selection in the NBA. This second team in 2017, it is like the only time he really gets acknowledged. But I just want to make a point to say, Danny Green averages nearly 2 stocks his whole career. Really underrated defender. Didn't show up in the stat sheet, but always gave 110%. This has been a hell of an 8-year stretch, and there is every reason to believe that Danny Green was very happy in San Antonio. But unfortunately, someone else wasn't. And that brings us back to a character from earlier, Kawhi Leonard, and also Uncle Dennis.
Oh,
Yeah, Uncle Dennis.
Fucking Uncle Dennis. Uncle Dennis, if we ever do like shady guys from the behind the scenes, Uncle Dennis is one of my selections.
It's Uncle Dennis and Paul Pogba's twin brothers that held him at gunpoint to extort him.
I mean,
That's 2. We need 7 more now.
Tommy DeVito's agent.
The fucking guy that fixed the series. Anywho, speaking of criminals, Zaza Pachulia, noted war criminal, hobbled the best player in the world at the time, Kawhi Leonard, in a desperate attempt to keep his overrated Golden State team from getting blown out in Game 1 of the 2017 Western Conference Finals. It worked. He basically ended Kawhi Leonard's San Antonio Spurs career, and the San Antonio succession plan that stretched back to David Robinson. This creates like a rift between the big three era players and the like Leonard and Green era players. It should be mentioned like Danny Green and Kawhi Leonard were really very good friends in the locker room. And the situation, it becomes untenable through also the machinations of one Uncle Dennis. And finally, on July 18th, 2018, there is a trade. The Toronto Raptors, who send over DeMar DeRozan, Jakob Poeltl, and a 2019 first-round pick. And in return, they get Kawhi Leonard for 1 year and Danny Green. And this Raptors season, from the get-go, it is treated as the year, like, that is what it is. And initially, Danny Green is just kind of like the throw-in that makes the contracts work. But there are folks in sources ranging from Raptors blogs to the Wall Street Journal that are saying, no. This is not just a throw-in. Danny Green is just as important to this team as Kawhi Leonard. Throughout the season, he is second on the team in total minutes, only trails Pascal Siakam. He's third in stocks because he's third in steals and second in blocks altogether, fifth in points, and first by a mile in three-pointers made, 198 at a 45.5% clip, career high. Amongst players with 200 three-pointers attempted, that is 35th ever for a single season three-point shooting percentage. It is incredible. And among people who have taken 400 shots and maintained that, so like really high volume, it is 8th. This season, Steph Curry shoots 43.7. Klay Thompson shoots 40.2. Danny Green shoots 45.5% from three.
It's pretty good.
The Raptors make the playoffs. They steamroll the Magic in the middle of that weird stretch where the Magic would win game 1 of the first round every year and then get reverse swept in losing game 5. So they do one of these. There is then a series against Philadelphia in which Toronto advances. That. And then they next down the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals to reach the first ever NBA Finals for the franchise, for the country. They're against the Golden State Warriors, there for the 5th straight season. And admittedly, we kind of get robbed of like what that series could have been because KD gets hurt like a quarter into the game. So this is not the clash it might have been. The Toronto Raptors truly take care of business. They win in 6 games pretty convincingly. It is Canada's first ever title. Danny Green starts all 24 playoff games. In the finals, he ends up ceding a lot of minutes to Fred VanVleet in the rotation, but he still ends up, for the playoffs as a whole, 5th on the team in playtime, 3rd in three-pointers made, 5th in blocks, 2nd in steals, all while averaging an unimpressive but nice 6.9 points per game.
Nobody can argue that it's not nice.
It is at least that one thing. And I mean, that was fun. Like, there's no reason for us to not do that again. But what if we were to do that as a cameo again? Because one could be forgiven for thinking do it again is run it back with Toronto. This is a great team. But like, Toronto was never going to re-sign Kawhi. Green was worthy of an offer, I would argue, after that season. I don't know if he got one. We do know that if he did, he accepted a different one. After about just a year from the trade to Toronto, he chooses his own fate this time. He signs as a free agent with the Los Angeles Lakers going into the 2019-2020 season. Starts 68 games. There is, of course, a break in between some of those where there's the whole acute COVID pandemic thing. And his three-point production drops a little bit down to 36.7. Like, this is not a particularly good season for him during the regular season. It is the second worst over a full season in his career. But the counting stats are still there in terms of like where he ranks among this pretty interesting Lakers team. He is second only to LeBron in three-pointers. He is second only to Anthony Davis in steals. Despite sharing the court with those two and JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard, he is still a respectable 5th in blocks. And he is a minor character on this team because there is just, I don't know if you remember like all of the characters on this team. We've got those 4. You've got Kyle Kuzma. You've got Dion Waiters. You've got Rajon Rondo. You had Kostas Antetokounmpo, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Alex Caruso, J.R. Smith. Like, this is a bizarre collection of individuals. And Danny Green's just there, putting in the work, taking the break for COVID, and then picking up right where he left off. In the playoffs, they crush Portland, Houston, and Denver. They win each of those series by a 4-1 margin. And then Miami is able to at least push it to 6 games. But for the second straight season, Jimmy Butler's season comes to an end at the hands of Danny Green's team as the Lakers finish them off. Danny Green, for the second straight year, in his first year with a team, has gone all the way to the finals and won a ring, his 3rd overall. He has, between these 2 years, 45 playoff games, the most in the league over those 2 years, full stop. I will acknowledge he has 1.5 win share over those 45 games, but he appeared in all 45 of those games.
I mean, look, the finals could have gone to 7 if not for Danny Green. There's a lot of things that could have happened.
I mean, a lot of things that could have happened the next year. This is after now his 10th consecutive postseason. It's time for him to go to another team where the magic starts to fade a little bit. The Lakers, in the offseason, they trade him to OKC, almost immediately trade him to Philly. And in 2021, it was in the second round. In 2022, losing the second round. During that one, Embiid's knee injury luck becomes so bad that Danny Green, when he collides with him, tears his own ACL.
That was game 6 of the Heat series, which was the second year he was there. I will say an underrated part and an under-discussed storyline from why those Sixers teams failed was in the Hawks series, we were cruising up 2-1. We were up 18 points in game 4 when Danny Green went down with an injury and did not return for the rest of the series. We lose in 7. Of course, Ben Simmons had the pass, yada, yada, yada. I think we probably just win that series in 5 if Danny doesn't get hurt. Then in the Heat series, I think we were up early in game 6 when the play you described mentioned, Joel Embiid with his unstable knee and recent concussion went down, went right into Danny Green, his ACL went out, and the vibe of watching that game, it was instantly like, oh, there's no chance we win this game now. If we still had Danny, we would have a chance. We do not have Danny. We do not have a chance. And I think we trailed by 15 like the rest of the game. So Danny Green and Danny Green's health very secretly could have been the thing that could have brought a rain to Philadelphia.
There were some sliding doors. There was something about that 2-year stretch. That is, like I said, it's the peak. We're going to spoil things out. He makes the playoffs 13 straight years because he's got those 2 then in Philly. And then after that injury, it's over there. He has a quick cameo in Memphis. I'm not going to try and make any hay about this being a real cameo to add to his case because it's just 3 games. But then he is immediately traded to Houston, waived, and he briefly shifts for just a moment from a cameo guy to a boomerang guy because first he returns to Cleveland for 8 regular season games and 4 in the playoffs, his 13th and final. And then he makes one last boomerang. He plays 2 games in the 2023-2024 season with Philly before announcing his retirement ahead of the 2024-2025 season, this most recent one. So he's been out for a full year now. He has started to enter the halls of guys that can be remembered. And there's a lot to remember. He eventually ended up playing 832 games, and he started 702 of them. That number of starts, I just want to point out, is more than all 3 of his 2009 NBA draft mates from UNC combined. Finishes with a career three-point percentage of almost exactly 40%. That is 10th all-time. Players with at least 3,000 three-pointers attempted. He is 2nd overall in postseason games played during that 13-year stretch where he makes the playoffs every single year. It's on at the top, 211. Danny Green with 169. Nice. And on the leaderboard for NBA postseason threes. Just to go through the first 8. You've got Steph Curry, going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Klay Thompson, first ballot Hall of Famer. LeBron James, first ballot Hall of Famer. James Harden, first ballot Hall of Famer. Then you start to get to the actual Hall of Famers. Ray Allen, KD's next up, first ballot. Manu in the Hall, Reggie Miller in the Hall. And then it's Danny Green. And then it's J.R. Smith immediately after, which almost immediately beats my claim. But it's notable to look at that top 10 list and be like, Danny Green is there with people who are or will certainly be in the Hall of Fame. He's got a lot of hardware. He's got the NCAA title. He's got 3 NBA championship rings. He's got a Slovenian Cup. To go back to that UC career, he played in a then record 145 games for them and won 123. That is an 84.8 win percentage. By the way, the equivalent for that in an 82-game season is 69 wins, baby. If you want to get into some fun cherry picking, he is the only ever ACC player with 1,000 points, 500 rebounds, 250 assists, and 150 each of 3-pointers made, blocks, and steals. That's a Thad Young-ass graphic.
It's a lot of things, but Danny Green did a lot of things.
Yeah, Danny Green he's so much better, I think, than we were already.
Well, a thing I would argue for Danny Green as well is we go back to different callbacks from the podcast. You mentioned Boomerang Guys. I would say he is an archetype founder. The 3-and-D wing that is so essential to modern NBA roster construction. I think Danny Green is the first and purest example of that. It's like, to your point, he will give you very good defense on one end, and he will make open three-pointers on the other. And don't ask him to do much more, but he will do those very well.
I won't necessarily claim to know enough to say whether he's the first, but he is the person I associate with the archetype of 3-and-D for sure. And I have that love for him because he is a San Antonio Spurs legend. And he's got these brilliant brief stints. And I think because 2 of his 3 championship years are these years where he doesn't stick around too long, so he doesn't build identities with it, but he is fondly remembered, particularly amongst the Toronto faithful. The Lakers one, it's strange because it's the bubble title, but like that Toronto season is arguably his best regular season. It is a huge part of that title. I think it's really easy for those stints that are really important to like the career case for Danny Green to get forgotten because they are so brief. And so that is why I want to make sure that we remember Danny Green, my first cameo guy.
Love Danny Green.
I mean, yeah, look, no arguments for me. And while the Sixers cameo is too long to technically be considered, like, I cannot emphasize enough how integral Danny Green was to making that team work. Because, and beating Ben Simmons, you need 3 guys who can shoot threes around them, in theory, for it to have ever ultimately worked all the way. Danny Green, it was amazing how he just slid right in. It's like, oh, wait, we're the 1 seed in the East now because we have guys who make 3-pointers? Amazing. Very fondly, we'll always remember Danny Green.
Well, that just about does it here for us, folks. 8 more, and then we see which of these are worthy of induction into the Hall of Guy. Some people who are worthy of something, which is to say our gratitude. That would be the people that we want to thank that include producer Craig, coders behind him, and then our musical director Don Ham, who makes that lovely theme music for us. I want to thank the 2 knuckleheads on here for joining me once again and doing this, and I want to thank you all for joining us once again. If you want to join with us in any capacity outside of listening to us, you can always find our information at bit.ly/rememberthatguy, all one word, all lowercase. That's all I've got. Anything from you guys on the way out?
Nothing for me.
All good.
In that case, I've been one of your hosts, James.
I've been the very special guest, Xavier.
And I'm Diaz, and after that thorough massacre on Chapel Hill, we can confirm that it is not North Carolina. At first I didn't connect that you were talking about like in reference to the guy, and I was like, oh, just what, like all this clickbait that's out here, like horrible top 10 quarterbacks, and oh, would you look at that, Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts somehow are not in this top 10. But Ben Roethlisberger is, even though he's been retired for 3 years.
I don't know how you can. The more I think about it, the more I'm just like, I don't know how you put 10 quarterbacks ahead of Jalen Hurts. I want to try and stretch my imagination. Because the other day we were talking, I was talking to a reasonable person. I want to stretch my imagination. Right. You've got the easy 4. Right. Jackson, Mahomes, Burrow, Allen. Thank you. No disrespect. No slander whatsoever. I think you could, okay, if we're trying to stretch our imagination, Matt Stafford. There you go. 5. There's no debate about it this time. You say Matt Stafford.
Sure.
I think if again, we're stretching the imagination. I don't believe this. I can believe people would say Jaden Daniels. I believe people would say Jared Goff. So up to 7.
Goff is a stretch, but like
again, that we are trying to stretch here.
I'll accept Goff in this stretch.
Herbert,
but even Herbert's the one that annoys me the most, but I do see it. So I can't.
It annoys me absolutely, but I think it's
the idea of Trevor Lawrence.
I could believe someone putting Trevor Lawrence as 10. That leads me to come up with a 9.
The hard line for me, if anybody ever said Brock Purdy, I would just completely discount.
Here's the thing.
forever.
I think this list has Brock Purdy at 9. I think the person making this
Probably.
hypothetical list, Brock Purdy, and they might even at 11. I had him just a second ago. I've lost him. I'm trying to see the jersey again, if that will help.
Bo Nix.
Not Bo Nix. That's the one where, that's the
Right.
hard line where you stop talking.
What if-
like, I won't even
what
listen.
if Jake-
Baker Mayfield.
Is this the
Baker,
athletic list that we're talking about?
No,
we're-
this is me trying to craft a list of, like, quarterbacks are better than Jalen Hurts because
We have it here. It's literally the athletic. Their list of this year from 3 weeks ago.
They have
They're
Jalen
keep-
outside the top 10.
They have Jalen tied for 9th. So
There we go. He's top 10. That's what I'm saying. You can't reasonably exclude Jalen Hurts.
Let's go through this real quick if this is what we're going to do, because this is 50 voters. Panel comprised of 6 GMs, 6 assistant GMs, 6 former GMs, 5 other execs, 8 head coaches, and 19 other coaches, including 15 coordinators. Each voter placed 34 veteran quarterbacks into 5 tiers from best to worst, then ranked by average vote and placed into tiers based on vote distribution.
Mhm.
This excludes rookies. There are 5 quarterbacks in tier 1. Can you name them in order?
So it's the big 4. And who's to be the fifth?
I'm curious who the fifth. I'm going to say Matt Stafford. I'm going to go with my.
It is Matt Stafford.
Yeah, he feels like the consensus 5.
It's Mahomes and Burrow tied for first, then Josh Allen at 3, then Lamar Jackson at 4, then Matt Stafford
Okay.
at 5.
Sure.
Then we have 9 in tier 2. We already said where Jalen Hurts is. He's tied for 9th. But let's see what you guys think of the rest of this list.
Yeah, just give us to it because we've named
6,
14 quarterbacks.
Jaden Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
7, Justin Herbert.
Dude.
8, Jared Goff.
Dude.
Tied for 9th, Jalen Hurts and CJ Stroud.
Okay, I almost completely just wrote their top 10.
11th, Baker Mayfield. 12th, Dak Prescott. 13th, Jordan Love. And 14th, Brock Purdy.
How a person, because if you're knocking Jalen Hurts, it's because he benefits from having a great run game. Like, oh, the team is only as good as they are because they have a great run game. Ignoring what an incredibly important part of that run game that he is. Set that aside. The whole thing with Justin Herbert is when he put up stats, his team sucked. And when they asked him to stop throwing is when they actually won. So he's like the same thing as Jalen Hurts, except without winning.
My last question. Who is quarterback number 34 on this list?
Daniel Jones.
Yeah, sure. To not overthink it.
Daniel Jones is number 30. He is ahead of 4 others.
But are these all projected starters? I'm trying to figure out the 2 more than 32.
It's either projected starters or expected to play like either significantly or have played significantly within the past year.
Rookies are excluded.
Rookies are excluded.
Don't tell me they have Flacco at 34.
They do not have Flacco at 34. They do have Flacco
He's tier 3.
at 31. So Flacco is right behind Daniel Jones.
That's absurd. That's absolutely absurd.
The last quarterback on this list, the only one who is in tier 5, because everyone else is tier 4 and above. Tier 5, what they describe as best suited as a backup. The only one is Kenny Pickett.
That's Super Bowl champion Kenny Pickett. Wait, did you see? The line wasn't going to be up tomorrow night for the Eagles game, but it is now because of extra funding secured by FanDuel. FanDuel is paying to have the Broad Street line run tomorrow.
I mean, that's good.
It's just, dude, like what a microcosm of the hellscape that is late stage capitalism. That the reigning Super Bowl champions for their first game need to have the public transportation provided by a sports gambling company. I don't know if you knew about that, James.
I heard. I heard.
It's one of those, like, this is a good thing that is happening, but everything around it is just disgusting.
Being a parent's rough.
It's just for the first 18 years, though. Then you get a drinking buddy. You should start giving Kieran the Heineken Zeros when he's like 10, 11. Start really get him used to it early.
It's funny. James and I were talking about how we have to go to Newark if Temple goes and plays at Delaware, and like Diaz will teach everyone how to piss on the wall, but our babies are not allowed to have alcohol in their sippy cup like he had.
The alcohol in the sippy cup was only at home, and it was once when I was 3. I graduated to regular Rolling Rocks when I was 12. It was very funny. My dad gave it to me like right after I'd eaten apples, and then it was like, oh, applesauce, like 10 seconds later.
Applesauce whips. I don't know what the context is, but
not the way that one was made.
Damn.